So, Tony, what is going on with Marcelo Mayer?
He's got some soreness in his foot, something that he had prior, and just aggravated a little bit from being back out there every day. So he's in FS, just going to take the weekend off and then kind of reassess things from there.
Would he have to go back and rehab more?
I wouldn't expect it, but it's hard to know. Take a look this weekend and then kind of go from there.
Are you hopeful for the homestand?
We'll see. I mean, hopeful in general just to get to be around him more than anything. We got a lot of time around him the first few days he was, with us. And I think at this point it's like a speed up on the relationship as much as anything. So wherever he's at, the more time we get around him, the better.
How much do you like the idea of him working with Wash, too, being in the
A ton.
Yeah.
And I think ideally for him is to settle in at one spot. The personnel circumstances, like Casey's case, it may not dictate that, but settle in at one spot and master it the way Louis did would be pretty fun to watch.
Was the plan originally, or the hope, was that he could play against Boston?
I think he wanted to play here, but that was more his ambition. I don't think it was ever kind of on the calendar for us. You don't ever want to cut anything too short or set your sights too far down the road, but in order to kind of make the progression he needed to, I think it was a little unrealistic.
It's obviously a very big weekend for Rafi coming back here.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a conversation with him, or maybe seen teammates have conversations with him, just providing support as to what might be a very emotional weekend for him?
No, I haven't personally, and I don't know that anyone has. If they did, it's great, but I don't know that it's completely necessary. I mean, it's pretty much out in front of you, and I don't know what his words were that he had for you all, but he loved being here, and I think everyone loved watching that team that won. I mean, if you're a baseball fan, I realize if they're an opponent or you're playing against them in the playoffs, you may feel a little bit different, but you had to enjoy watching that group. They had a really fun mix of younger guys that played like all-stars or veterans, Rafi being one of those guys, and some older guys that you could tell were obviously talented on the field and also leaders of the team.
You have been here before, right?
Just one game. Had really good seats above the dugout. Ironically, they were. Jim told me he didn't know at the time that he was giving us the seats, but a baseball connection allowed me and my college coach, the first guy I worked for, is Tim Jameson, and another buddy, Luke Cassis. We were here, but they didn't even have seats above the Monsters. So we came here to recruit the Cape Cod area, which is a great area to live. It's tough to recruit. So we snuck over to a game, and it was obviously great to check out a park. I mean, I'm into tradition as much as anybody possibly can be. And obviously here in Wrigley, I don't think I'm missing one, or the longest standing. It's like time travel when you're here.
With Devers, how would you describe the impact that he's made in your lineup this year, and how would you just describe the arc of his season, which seems like it's had some ups and downs?
Yeah, I think it was just maybe a slower start, is fair to say, than everybody anticipated or would want, but it was also just a matter of time. The nature of this season is it is long, and as time goes on, you kind of get a real feel for who someone truly is, and he's kind of coming to form for what he is. He's in a tough spot right now. Obviously, it's great to have Willie hitting in front of him, but it's a young lineup. He's the guy you're shooting to get out, so everybody's gunning for him even more so than they have. But he's still kind of been the main shtick in the middle of the lineup, and his numbers have kind of started to work themselves out to show you who Rafi Devers is. I think the thing that really stands out is some of the games we've won, it's been on his bat. And he's somewhere in the top five at a minimum for go-ahead RBIs in the league. So he's obviously a threat, but when he's hitting, he's hitting with the money on the line.
He said when he was talking to us earlier that he feels like he's just missing everything right now, even middle. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's gotten, big at times. It's a parallel to our season. Everybody wants to, make up more ground than necessary with one swing, one play, one game, and you just can't do that with the game. So I think we've all been guilty of that. But he's said it, he's verbalized it before. He works with OB like crazy. I think it's one of the prettiest swings in the game when he stays true to that swings. But it's sometimes that want to takes over, and that's not a bad thing. It just shows you really want to and you care and you're intense, can kind of take over in guys' swings and they get a little bit bigger.
It's interesting that you say that because, I was thinking of it as there's some streakiness to his game, right? And in part because there's so there's a lot of movement, right? That's atypical. He's kind of a one-off in terms of what that swing looks like.
Yeah, the one thing about that is I've coached a lot of young guys from my background. You hate the tinkerer in the cage that one day has his hands above his head, the next day they're at his belt. And the one thing is his swing has always been a swing. And, he's in the offensive meetings, he speaks out the most. He's got really good insight to the game. He was talking about to the young guys what this park can play like at times. But he knows his swing as well as anybody. It's the same contest every baseball player is fighting is how many times can you repeat your best swing? And it starts in BP, and even, Manny could probably do it 10 times out of 10, but you're trying to get that in BP, and then the game starts. And then when Sonny's doing this and this and this, not only do you have to repeat your best swing, but you got to be on time for that pitch. So there's a lot of variables, but the one thing that stays constant is his setup that you're talking about in his swing.
I don't know if they asked you this in Cleveland, but he's mostly been DHing the last week or so. Is it the legs again? Or?
Yeah, just kind of managing that and trying to sit down with those guys. And Bryce has carried a big load at first base, but I think it's really fun for everybody in the organization to see Bryce's faults, which everybody has them, and they seem to be shrinking greatly. And also just getting him reps and see some of the plays that he's capable of making. He's growing into being a good big league first baseman, which I think a lot of people just initially thought he's a DH. I hope he can do something. Now it's kind of developing, I think, into something much more than that at a faster rate than some people thought.
Yeah, can you elaborate on what you meant by always taking his best swing? So I've had a lot of hitting coaches and good hitters tell me that you can't always have your A swing, that you need multiple swings.
Yeah, no, I think you have to be able to adjust, and I think you see a guy get a 3-1 count. They talk about A hack and 2 strikes, B hack, and things like that. But I think just consistently taking the swing that is yours, which is really tough in this game, because you got the ball moving all over the place. It's at different speeds. Now more than ever, we may see it tonight, guys are throwing over 100 miles an hour. So yeah, at the end of the day, it's can you get the bat on the ball, and that might mean, Vlad Guerrero Sr. was a guy who I know would take BP and he'd say, don't throw me any strikes because of what you're talking about. You got to learn to be able to get the ball at different spots, which might mean the swing looks a little bit different. But I do think when you go into battle, you want to feel confident that when you take your swing, it's relatively consistent over the course of the game.
Yeah, would you say that Devers takes an A swing more than the average hitter?
Yeah, he'll always tell you, I'm going to swing hard. And that's always been his game, and it's kind of always worked for him, too. I think the balance we got a young kid, Basabi, that's really fun to watch. I think the balance for those guys that are aggressive with their swing is what you want them to be. You just got to be under control.
What is the plan going forward with Matt Wilkinson?
We'll see. I think to make sure he knows, for now, make sure he knows what day he's throwing on. We really wanted to, make sure he was at least able to stay in his routine for the first outing. We thought it'd be cool for the team, and it kind of worked. I mean, we thought you'd get a little bit of momentum swing, a little change in the dugout. I know the score we didn't win 16-0 or anything, but then from here on out, it's kind of like we know his mentality. I think people are starting to know about it, and it's give me the ball whenever, and he's going to go out there and compete. So for now, I think we want to make sure he knows what day he's throwing on, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's starting, or it's just go until you're at the point of exhaustion or you're out of pitch count. But I'm willing to bet, too, that we'll utilize his flexibility, the fact he's one of our few lefties, and do some different things with him.
Do you have a Sunday starter?
No, not yet.
But it's not going to be, was it?
No. And Tugboat will probably most likely pitch on Sunday, yeah. I'm glad I caught his name, by the way. Starting to get a little more comfortable with it.